Microphone's on,
Green light's on.
green light's on, that's a good way to phrase it. I've had alarms going off on my phone all day. If I have one go off, I apologize. I'm not sure why they're there and what they are. I've silenced it, but sometimes those alarms go past the silence thing. You tell me when we're ready.
I'm going.
All right. I'd like to bring the meeting to order of the Oconee County Planning Commission. It's October 20th at 6 p.m. on a Monday. Calling it to order. First start with invocation, Mr. Niggs.
Yes, sir. Please pray with me if you will. Heavenly Father, we ask that you please watch over this committee, planning staff, and guide us to wise and safety-conscious decisions in support of the public. And we also ask that you watch over the county law enforcement, first responders, and other county workers as they perform their duties, and that they may return home safely to their families after every shift. And we ask that you please watch over the county and state leaders as they work to make the county and state a better place to live each day. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Frowell, could I get you?
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we had a good detailed minutes. I appreciate the staff for doing that. Do I hear an approval of the minutes from October 6th?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All right. Were there any changes? I know it was pretty detailed as far as going through it, and again, I want to appreciate the staff, the knowledge of what they did in making that happen. If there are no changes, all those in favor of the minutes approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Public comments for non-agenda items, I don't think we have.
No, none.
Commission member comments. Anybody have anything that they want to say this evening? All right, let's move right along to staff comments.
Beyond the minutes, you have a copy of our proposal for next year's calendar. I understand obviously the January date is already set as of last year's calendar. I'll need to set a January date for 2027. But I just wanted you to have some heads up on what the dates will look like, if there's any questions or concerns or comments. And the other part of that is whether or not this board, this commission would be going to more of 2 meetings a month.
Is this something that we're voting on? I know that I had asked you all to put up the proposed dates that were available next year. Is this something that we're talking about at this point, or is this?
Talking about, yes, sir.
But not voting on this or not?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Well, because just so everybody knows, I had asked for a list of all the available dates that would be available next year. I know this year we went to a 1 meeting per month with a special meeting as needed. I know we were a little overwhelmed at times and ran a little longer than I'd like at times. But I did personally like the 1 meeting, especially through the springtime. So take these. I'm not going to suggest we vote on it unless staff is suggesting we vote on it until.
You can vote on it at the next month's meeting.
Okay. But right now, I don't necessarily, well, I won't be chairman next year. Hopefully somebody else will step up to this plate. But if anybody has any suggestion coming into the next meeting, we'll talk about it then.
Would they need to vote on going back to 2 meetings a month and then voting on?
Well, that would be the question, is whether you would vote, we'd have a couple of votes at the next meeting as to whether you go to 2 meetings a month, or you simply choose the months that you want have the option of having two meetings, like you said, if you leave them out in the spring and you take them on in the summer, those would be two votes essentially. One is to go to bi-monthly, or one to simply adopt a calendar of dates. And
Well, I felt like that first step was just knowing what dates were going to be available.
exactly, that's what
So
I'm saying. So
that's why this form is as it
You know,
is.
I'm not talking about a vote tonight, no, I'm just
Yep.
saying there may be two votes, depending on which way, you choose to go.
Were there any other staff comments?
No, sir.
I didn't mean to jump in on y'all's stuff. Which does look like that's number 8. So we've kind of talked about that as well, that this was just the dates that would be available to us, should we want to choose all of those. And that next meeting or the next agenda, we'll show it up whenever it's important to put that down for discussion. All right, I appreciate everybody coming to this second meeting for October. Last meeting, as you know, we were really pushing through it and trying to get all the way through it. It did hit the 8 o'clock hour. I hope that we do not go that long tonight. But I appreciate Mr. Nix cutting it short. But I did want to try to get through this month. And so we're back to number 9, which is the continued discussion, markups, changes, where we have been discussing chapters 32 and how they integrate with chapters 26 and how they integrate with chapter moving on into 38 and things like that. So from here, I will,
We have any public comments?
yeah, we do. Man, I forgot you were here after seeing that you were here.
Is it time?
Yes, we'll start with you, Mr. Markovich, and then I want to let GIS come up and talk as well. Thank you so much. Ms. Cheney?
Very good. For the record, just in case anyone's wondering, I'm Tom Markovich. Yeah, I hated to miss those meetings that I missed, but sometimes I still have to work. I just don't understand that. Anyway, I read through most of the things and I agree with a lot of the changes. But one thing that kind of really caught my attention and jumped out at me is in 26, and it has to do with changing who is authorized to accept roads. The county administrator has been appointed that duty for many years. And this strikes that and says the council. I question that in that all the criteria for roads are laid out specifically by the council. There's no question you can't, I mean, and especially with doing away with this idea of allowing things to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which was always ridiculous. But nonetheless, the criteria are very exact. The administrator can only approve a road if it meets a criteria, period. And so for it to have to go back to council would be redundant. They've already laid out the very specifics that it has to meet. And if it doesn't meet those specifics, then it can't be approved, period. And so, and it'll take a longer period of time. I mean, if the council has to do it, now you're talking about 3 readings and a public hearing, maybe 2 public hearings. And so I just kind of question, I don't think it's necessary. The administrator's always done a very good job of doing what they need to do. So that's the main thing I came up with. Thanks.
Thank you. Before we dive into this, and I should have handled that as well, GIS department was good enough to have watched our last meeting, and there were some things that we had made, comments we had made that caused some red flags and caused some alerts and caused some, or I don't want to say red flags, more caused a point of just definition or awareness and things like that. So I'd like to invite you to come up real quick and kind of share with us some of your findings or observations that might help us continue as we go tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Nick Walton, the Coney County Addressing and GIS Department. Not red flags at all, just clarifications. I printed out copies for everyone, so I'll walk around and drop those off right now.
We didn't have you on the agenda, so I know that you'll, please be thorough, but also,
Well, just one page. As we were going through all your discussion last time, I just wanted to clarify two things. The first being, when we are talking about types of accesses to properties, the type is not the same as the suffix. I know that can be kind of confusing because one of our definitions for named access is private drive. As such, an access can be defined as a driveway, drive, or road, but the actual suffix of the access, for example, DR, RD, way, and LN, is not governing that access type. Examples are, you can have a private driveway called Acorn Place, you can have a private drive called River Lane, you can have a private road called Tree Drive. Please note in section D of the Coney County Addressing Policy, road suffixes are defined, but since this policy was introduced in the 2000s, we have many named accesses, private driveways, private roads, and private drives that do not follow the specific definitions of the road suffixes. Further, the policy states other types of road suffixes that can be approved. The second thing I wanted to talk about was in Coney County, accesses are named if they fall into the private drive and private road categories. So automatically, if it's going to be a private drive or a private road, it's named. Private driveways are not required to be named. The naming of private driveways is defined in the addressing policy. In short, naming a private driveway is for emergency services use only. It is not required. If it is not required, then it is not needed. The addressing office has defined this as the requirements for naming a private driveway, has defined this as structure or structures that are not visible from the road that they are addressed from, and or they are more than 250 feet away from the named road. And on top of that, current site visits are conducted to confirm this request. I know I ran through that real quick. Do you have any questions for me?
no, the addressing office.
So is anything we're doing in this ordinance going to conflict with,
It's not going to directly conflict with it, but questions were brought up, so I wanted to bring that in to clarify for you.
yes, and you did a very good job at that.
Excellent. Please keep watching our YouTubes so that if there are things that do stand out, like this question, that those can be caught. Also, if there's an area, like Mr. Haney said, where there is a conflict of something we've done or proposing to be done, please try to catch us before before that information makes it all the way to council for readings. So,
All right, absolutely, will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, Mr. Haney, the ball is in your court.
All right, so if y'all would, we're gonna start at section 26-2, B 10.
Which is page what of what?
3 of 35.
Okay. B10.
And that's, we're basically striking all that because it's a requirement, from DOT that's not put on private roads, private drives, or private driveways. So I make a motion to remove item 10.
Second.
And, hold on, Dave, I think we're putting reserve in there, is that correct? So we don't shift everything?
Yes, that would be.
Okay, and replace it with reserve?
As an item 10, it would go to the word reserve.
Correct.
Second.
And, because that is not required from a DOT standpoint. Is that,
For private roads, private drives, and private driveways.
that would be up to them?
It'd be up to them.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Unanimous?
Item 12, that'll be 26-2B12. Those are postponed. I think Mr. Root was going to look into that and come up with a better defined verbiage. If I recall correctly. Yes.
If I may, we actually added that verbiage to 32, when he presented it at the last meeting. And it is on, in section 32, page 18 of 20, certificate of maintenance for private roads. There was the motion to adopt it.
32 dash what?
I'm sorry, it's 32,
Oh, you said 18 of 20 as far as the pages?
section 32-223, C, final plat certificates.
It's gonna be towards the front, in the front document, not the back document.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So
Mike,
this, on the 18 of,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
on the 18 of 20, that looks like it was the verbiage where it was going to be turned over to the public. Is that right?
No, that is the verbiage where it states that at the time of the plat, the roads are private if there is a decision to make them public, then, I'll read it,
I'm reading 18 of 20 saying the road right-of-way have, however, been constructed pursuant to a plan to request future acceptance. Am I reading the right section?
Yes.
So this would apply to something that would have the expectation of being turned over to public. We had two of them, one that there was no, didn't we have two? One that there was no expectation and one that there was an expectation?
Yes, you're correct, because if it was built to a private road standard without upgrading the road, there's no way you could turn it over to a public road.
And this one is, we're under 12 that we're under right now on page 4 of 35 is dealing with no more than 10 residential lots. Is that correct?
okay.
So I'll make a motion that we send this back to Mr. Root so that we capture both those roads that will continue to be private and those roads that they wish to turn over to a public road at a future date.
Yeah, we do need the surveyor to be able to put those two different demarcations on, one of the two on there. You made a motion, I'll second that motion. Does everybody understand where we are and what we're talking about?
I don't understand, are we gonna have a different paragraph or section for certificate of maintenance for private roads, that are assumed to be not turned over and one for assumed to be turned over, so we need a whole new paragraph?
Right, or both of those items included in that one paragraph where you just check a box or something.
Yeah, right now it's under that new document, it says, however, there is a plan to turn it over to the public and they have been therefore built to a certain specification of construction, whether it be right of way or otherwise. As I understand it, when we are talking here, if there's no more than 10 residential lots, we have on private roads given the ability to reduce the right-of-way size. However, if the right-of-way size has been reduced from, say, 50 to just the 20-foot road width, then those roads would not be built to a county specification to be turned over. And so the discussion had been there that if the developer plans on turning it over or asking the county to take over those roads, that those roads have to be built to that public road right-of-way standard. If they don't plan on doing it, it's a farmer who's planning on giving land to his kids and did not build that with the appropriate right-of-way amounts and things like that, then his paragraph would be different. It would say, these cannot be turned over to the county for public maintenance.
As they are developed. It goes a little bit deeper than that, so it gives you the ability, if you're not able to build to the public standard, to have it under the private standard. So if you're not able to meet the climb of elevation due to having to cut away half of your property to ensure that your ascend is not too great, you're able to put it in as a private road or a private drive to still meet the needs of developing that property, but it's not going to be maintained by the public. So that's really the private drives is a step down for a person that it's not feasible for them to.
I don't see anything clear here written down to give Mr. Root the guidance to divide this up the way that we need to, though it's confusing. I mean, you got the certificate of maintenance for private roads when applicable. It's just one big paragraph, and it doesn't have any kind of, we're not giving him any kind of clarity, and there's not any clarity here.
So the question I think that you're answering, right now, what's in yellow is what is required to be put on a survey. And it may be that what is in yellow still needs to be put on a survey, unless option 2, where it is built to another standard. We probably need Mr. Root just to be able to determine both of those paragraphs are either picking A or B.
Right,
As a-
it was,
As the surveyor, as the developer.
if we find it in, let's see, 32 marked up. Where's that?
It was page, I think it was 4 of 20.
So are we,
4 of 35.
are we putting this in chapter 32 or chapter 26?
It's in both chapters, David.
Well,
Mr. Williams.
I see the blue paragraph with the white writing and the black writing that has basically the same wording as the yellow highlighted on in chapter 32.
So we're
Not
saying,
exactly the same.
And that's what we're trying to do, is get those documents the same.
move from 32 to 26.
Well, they're also required in 32. I don't know if I have a complete 32 here.
How about the gravel roads that Oconee County maintains? Instead of just the paved roads.
So, Dave, I think what has happened is, this has pulled out that verbiage where I had went in and tried in making, it include both types. I don't see it here, and what I done was figured we was gonna pull everything from 32 over. Actually, if you look, move from chapter 32, that was my first attempt at including both types of road. If you're looking at in the teal color where it says move from chapter 32.
Yeah.
And so somebody would circle one of the two. I think it's better written, because it's written on a survey now. What is in yellow is the verbiage that is written on every survey of a private road.
Correct.
In section 12 of.
In section 12.
Which is, been, crossed out.
And where we're trying to get is that developers are having to put that on the survey, even though they're building it to a standard with an expectation that the county's going to take it over, and they're having to produce a document saying they won't.
And that's stating that it was not built to that standard.
Right, with a statement saying it was not built to that standard. And so we're trying to allow the survey to, if the expectation is that it'll be turned over to the public, the survey not to have to say that it won't,
Or that it was not built to
or
that
that it
standard.
was not built to that standard,
Right.
when it in fact was built to that standard with that expectation.
So hopefully I didn't mean to cut you off.
So you had made a motion, I don't know if it was seconded, but you had made a statement that you thought Mr. Root needed to review that, and And I would agree that Mr. Root needs to come in and say, this is an either or. The developer that presents a plat to planning, the surveyor is writing one of the two based on the design and build of that road.
And I'm saying the motion is not clear to me because we haven't given him a clear
directive.
vision of what we want said in here.
At the last meeting, I assumed it was clear when we made the motion for him to review it. He was taking this same verbiage that's written, that's stated moved from chapter 32, and was supposed to come up with a document that encapsulated both types of properties or roads.
Mr. Root did make a change on 18 of 20, page 18 of 20 in yellow.
Yeah. It's the same paragraph except one more sentence.
It's the same
Yeah.
paragraph, but a different meaning because it's talking about
The
being,
last sentence says, future acceptance, if any, of the road rights of way into the Coney County Public Road System shall be evidenced by a separate document. That's what he added in bringing it over from chapter 26.
actually, there's one other thing added here too. The second sentence, the road right-of-ways have however been constructed pursuant to a plan to request future acceptance.
True, yeah, I see that.
The page 4 of 35, the current document does not say sentence 2, and Mr. Root added sentence 2 in there, that it is plans to construct it to, for future acceptance. So it really needs to be both, depending on what this person, survey he has presented to the planning department, would have one of these verbiages written on there. And again, all those private road surveys have that. It's just right.
This is not clear in that respect, though. Would you agree?
This is not written that way right now.
Correct, and that's what we had tasked, and hopefully this time around tasking with again, is to,
And the only way he is gonna get it the way we want is if we're clear about what we want. So how do we want to write, do we want two separate certificate of maintenance paragraphs for private roads? One that says, ones that may be taken over by the county and ones that will never be taken over by the county, is that?
I think that'd be the cleaner form of the two. So let me amend my motion that we have Mr. Root create a document that gives us the two different types of classification of roads, ones that can be adopted in the future and ones that do not fall under the development guidelines for road construction and remain private until they're upgraded.
Mr. Markovich, I think maybe can share some information from his experience here. Does anybody have a problem with Mr. Markovich speaking?
Got a motion on the,
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to amend the motion by having Mr. Markovich speak.
I'll second that. All those in
All right.
favor of Mr. Markovich having an opportunity to speak, signify by saying aye.
Very quickly, you have me very confused which is not unusual, but nonetheless, you're talking up in section, on page 18 of, section 18 and 20 and 32 about private roads. This particular paragraph down here on page 4 of 35 or 32 is about private drives. I'm not aware of private drives ever becoming public roads, period. I'm not sure how they could, because they will never meet the minimum standard. They're drives, they're not roads, period. So we're talking about two different things here.
I do have a question with that. Because just with the start of that private drive starts about servicing 10 residents, but you can have a county-maintained road going to 10 residences.
yes.
You could, but it wouldn't necessarily start out as a private, I don't think it would meet the standard for a private drive. It could be it's a road that only has 10 residences on it to a certain point in date. That doesn't mean it's a private drive. It just means it's still a road.
So in our past ordinance, unless I'm mistaken, the private drive still had the same construction standard as the public, as something that would be taken over for public maintenance,
But it was never gonna exceed the 10.
right?
So, I mean, a drive is a very specific thing, it's defined as a very specific thing, but it's kind of being used back and forth, and that can be a big problem, that's all I'm saying. It's, because I'm hearing two different conversations going on. We're talking about roads, and then we're talking about drives, and
So-
they're not the same thing.
So the issue I see is, you may not have just a subdivision, this, a planned subdivision going in, where you're gonna have, 20 houses on that road. It may be a property that's being divided up over time. And if the first person that was putting in that road said, hey, I know that this property's gonna grow and it's gonna be developed, and there's X amount on back here that can be developed, and I wanna make sure that I have a 50-foot right-of-way. I wanna make sure that I've got the 28 foot of, clear zone. All of those things, they can put in place, so as those properties are developed and sold off, and they wanna turn it over, they can at any time, and give the people who buy that property that ability. So it opens up the windows, for, if that is worked in the plan, even though it is a private drive, that at a future date, if that area grows, that they can turn it over at their will. So they got a choice when they're developing that property or putting in that road, is whether they wanna build that road to standards or not to standards. And with that choice, if they build it to standards, then they can, that's could be a selling point for them. Is, this area has a road built to standards that may be turned over.
And it goes on the plat. It's
And it goes on the
documented
plat, yes.
It's documented on the plat, and correct me, Mr. Markovich, if I'm wrong, but I think what's being said, though, is that this private drive serves no more than 10 lots and can never serve more than 10 lots as a drive. To go to the 11th would turn it into a road, and therefore would then fall under road categories. If, say, somebody had 10 lots, that they were 10-acre lots, and at some future point, they wanted to subdivide that 10 acres into 10 more lots, that no longer becomes a drive, it then becomes a road and would have to follow road standards. You're saying, and I still think that it may need to be, is that the original survey, if the original survey that it says it can never be turned over, can it be turned over at some future point?
Yeah, could it be changed?
In other words, now I have a drive that was built to a certain standard, can I not come back and improve that drive if I add another 20 homes and now turn it into a subdivision of more than 10?
Only if you meet the standards for a public road. So that means additional right-of-way. That means the elevation, climb and descend's gotta be there. Site clearance, all that stuff has to be met. And so that's why I'm stating, if you are foreseeing the future and you're saying, okay, I wanna build this as a public road because this may happen, and it'd be easier to do it up front than go back and have a few of the property owners hold out and say, no, I'm not gonna give you that additional right-of-way.
So your suggestion is that regardless, someone should have the option of putting paragraph A or paragraph B on the survey?
Right, we should give them that option so that it's in the property owners, whatever's in their best interest to handle it.
And that doesn't keep them from deciding later to add 3 more lots and make it go over 10 houses and.
If it was built to
And
that,
upgrade it to a
that
private
level
road.
of standard?
Right, so we're documenting it up front, because if we don't document it up front, how are we gonna know if that road is built to a public road standard?
Once they put that on the survey that says may be turned over, that is triggering Roads and Bridges to inspect. So that's,
I mean, right now, there's already an ordinance that there's already roads that are trying to be converted from, they don't meet the standards regardless of what kind of road they were. There's a lot of the old state roads that don't meet the standards. and they want to change them, but they still have to go through all the steps, and ordinance is already very specific about that, about the different standards, and it includes the right of way, it includes all these different, and sometimes there is one person that's holding up the whole shooting match, but nonetheless, there is ordinance that already covers that.
Right.
So, anyway,
Did that clear it up at all for you?
yeah, I was just confused by the idea that we got a specific passage that is written specifically about drives, and then we're talking about roads. And since drives and roads are such a peculiar thing in this county, I just wanted to be clear about that, because it's,
I would like Mr. Root to listen to this section that we've talked about. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I want there to be personally an option A and option B that the designer of that survey that's presented has chosen. But I'd like Mr. Root to determine, does it need to go in all levels, or does it start at a certain level of 11 or more? In other words, if somebody chooses to do the 11th, then they have to go back and prove.
I think it has to start anywhere that there is a limited amount of regulation, because you have the International Fire Code still pertaining to private drives and private roads.
So they should have the option at day one.
Right, because that's, what we're here for, is to provide a service. And this is one of the areas I see that is lacking, is we're having, and it's also, can become burdensome on taxpayers. If we have these roads get adopted in that do not meet the public road standards, then we're having to work through those issues as a county. So what we're stating up front is document what you have. And as you grow, we know what you have and what you have to do to meet public road standards if you're not there.
Tell us your motion.
All right, more questions?
Yes.
All right, so we got a certificate of maintenance for private roads in chapter 32. If you go over to chapter 26, we got private drive, and we got that same blue statement under private drive, and then also under private roads.
Correct.
So do we need to say certificate of maintenance for private drive/roads in chapter 32?
We do if we are adding it at all levels of 3
Well, so
plus.
it looks like we are, aren't we, in 26?
I do think Mr. Root needs to weigh in on it
Yes.
as to whether we can start at number 4, at home number 4, with that expectation of 4 to 10. And if it's built over that, can they already have a base layer of understanding? And I think that would be good, but I do think Mr. Root needs to weigh in. And I would agree, Mr. Nix, that private road should therefore then say, if we are able to use option A, option B, that it should be private roads/drives.
Well, I think they're using the definition of roads as a plural or all-inclusive for roads and drives.
What about this, the one above it, certificate of ownership? I hereby certify that we, the owner, blah, 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 and then it goes on to say, hereby dedicate all roads, alleys, walks, parks, and other sites to public or private use as noted. Was that, the one that's on 1820?
1820, the information above it.
Correct. Does that define it right there as public or private use? As noted, it's being stated right there. One or the other.
18 of 20 on chapter 32.
Certificate of dedication.
And it's number C, right above right here. Staff may need to jump in here a little bit as well. We aren't wanting to put redundancy in there, but are we talking about two different things? One of these is saying, hey, we're gonna do this and we're signing, and we need, as the surveyor, these are different things that the surveyor needs to be putting down. it looks like.
So this is ownership.
That's where they sign off.
What page is that? What page are you?
18 to 20.
18. Thank you.
I don't see that statement as in conflict with what we're trying to do with the private roads and drives certificate of maintenance there.
Okay.
I don't see,
Hopefully, Mr. Root will look over all of this in this section. All right, you made a motion.
Yes, and David, did you want to amend that motion?
what's the motion again?
So the motion is to task Mr. Root to come up with
An option A, option B.
option A, option B of, that will go on the plat when the road is developed to state whether it
Or
was.
drive?
Yes, or drive. Whether it was built to the public road standards or not.
Second.
Okay.
Is everybody up to speed as to the conversation and where we are? All right. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of getting Mr. Reed involved in that step, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Keep going.
All right, so we're on 13.
Are we on 4 of 35?
35, section 13,
Yep. Section 13.
or part 13.
So everything green was approved except for the word drives. How did that originally read? I think you go too far.
Right there.
13. Move from section.
So you went past it,
I'm sorry.
yeah, so,
Well, I saw it was
Go.
had moved from section
Yeah.
26.3M, so
so,
that's where I was.
So 13, the first strikeout line was what it used to say.
road maintenance signs.
Yeah, the signage shall comply with a manual for uniform traffic control devices. That's what got struck, and what got moved was that second part, and then it got modified. That paragraph. Road signs on private drives where subdivision roads are not to be dedicated state or county for public maintenance. Subdivider shall install.
Okay, yes, you're right. That's why we put private drives in there, because we're only talking about private drives right now.
Yeah.
And, it was missing, so we approved everything green with the exception of the word drives. So I make a motion to include drives in that, definition.
I second that.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Unanimous?
So 13C, the item in blue is what we brought over from section 32 and implemented it in with the definition that was already there. Basically stating private roads means privately owned and maintained right-of-ways that contain a road constructed in accordance with the regulations to provide vehicular access to road frontage to more than 10 single residential lots.
Single family, yeah. Single family residential lots.
Single-family residential lots, yes, I'm glad you caught that. I make a motion to include that in that definition.
Second.
Does everybody understand what was taking place, that was over in 32? It was also in 26. We were simply moving that definition to its proper location from 32 to 26 and just added it to what was there. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Unanimous.
All right, down below that, we removed dwellings, so it's only 10 lots. And also removed, the sentences below it
Where are you now?
that are striked.
Still on C,
C,
Same place.
still on C, just talking about the red now.
yeah, so everything that's struck through.
And if everybody will remember from dwellings, that when we went back to definition of dwellings, most homes that had a basement, that had a kitchen and a bathroom, were now 2 dwellings. And so we were, in one chapter, we were saying 10 dwellings, in another chapter, we were saying 10 lots, and trying to make them say the same thing, and they weren't. So we removed dwellings out of all the definitions.
So I thought this deletion of this paragraph is kind of interesting. This ties back into our discussion of what we wanted to do on the plat for dedicated or non-dedicated private drives.
Correct.
All private.
And this is language that maybe Root should consider when we split apart the pieces into A and B, because we're deleting this language, but it's kind of saying, it could be relevant to what we're talking about. As far as dedicated roads or non-dedicated roads. I mean, really, that's what we're talking about, or drives. Like, I need to get my terminology straight.
Well, it's under roads. Private roads.
Right, but we're talking about drives and roads now, as far as the blue paragraphs. And over in section 32, where you do the certificate of maintenance.
But would this not fall underneath the subdivision ordinance requirement?
Is it under 32?
I've slept since then, but,
Because this sentence here is talking about the process of giving information to planning and saying, this is what I want to do, not the process of moving dirt.
right, and,
Which will be at chapter 32. 32 is giving the information, saying this is what we want to do. Chapter 26 is moving the dirt.
So I guess my question to you, Mickey, was, what was your thoughts on when you did the strike through on that? Why were you
it
deleting?
belongs in 32, because that's the design of.
So are we moving that anywhere to chapter 32?
Well, I'm thinking it's already in 32, I gotta go back and, you wanna postpone, I tell you what, let's postpone,
Can we get staff to verify before we take that next step on there? Instead of postpone, can we get staff to verify that that's somewhere in 32? Is that what you were about to say?
right, postpone until they verify and
Yeah.
come back to us.
So if you all can verify that, do you understand what we need? That is actually there before we take it out?
So if you're coming back to another meeting with that information.
Correct.
Is that correct, Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
I have another meeting. We quit 4-8 today.
And the-
Unless staff can find it tonight over there.
Yeah.
Do a word search.
Yeah, word search.
The rest of that in red was simply turned into green, it looks like, on that page.
So we got a motion to, skip this?
Well, we had a motion to remove dwellings.
Yes, okay, so let's stick with that, a motion to remove dwellings.
Second.
All those in favor of removing dwellings, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then we didn't make a motion, but we asked staff to look at that next part of the paragraph to see if we had already moved it to 32. The rest of this in red is simply the writing of what's in green that we approved.
Correct.
So we're ready for the next page.
Yep, so we're
Page 5 of 35.
Yes, 5 of 35. This deals with that definition that Mr. Root needs to get, sorted through for us,
In yellow. Yep.
The
what's in-
yellow and
yep,
the-
What's in green's already been approved.
turquoise.
Mr. Root's gonna continue with that one that's in yellow. Can staff make a notation that that item 10 is part of what Mr. Root needs to? And this goes back to what Mr. Markovich was saying, that now we're in the roads section of lots of 11 or more.
Can you scroll down to item 11?
That's the same deletion as you had in private.
Correct. So it's that
Right.
same definition has to follow all the way through the documents, 32 and 26.
And here you're saying on private that it doesn't need to be there at all.
Oh, this has already been approved. You're talking about
Oh,
11?
yeah, no, I'm sorry.
But my
You're right.
question is, can you scroll up a little bit further to capture the next page? Okay,
Okay.
with the exception of requirements put forth in section. Make a motion to strike through this because it ties in all the road standards, public road standards, to the private roads.
Yeah, this pulls back everything that we're trying to do in separating those things. This turns around and says, but it has to meet all the public road standards, private roads do. And so that's what we're trying to separate out to begin with, so I'll second that.
Wait a minute, what are we voting on?
The yellow line at the top of the page, with the exception of the requirements put forth, all private roads shall meet all the requirement of public roads.
I got you. I see that one. Yeah.
And that's what we've been separating. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor of striking that is highlighted in yellow, yellow and red, signify by saying aye.
Unanimous.
Can we
So
go back?
section, I'm
Can we,
sorry.
this blue here, it says move to 32. Was that done? Has that been,
That's actually part of what Mr. Root is looking at for the sections beginning with 4 or more homes, 4 to 10 homes, and for
Blue was
11
proposed, right?
11 or more,
okay, I'm
That
sorry.
was originally.
as an A or B. Option A, option 1, option 2, option A, option B, however you want to phrase it. For the
I'm-
surveyor.
I'm with you now, thank you.
So section 26.3, public roads, this entire definition came from chapter 32, and we're just placing it in chapter 26.
Where it should be.
So my motion is to move that public road definition from chapter 32 underneath section 26.3, public roads.
Second.
Does everybody understand that? On page 6 of 35, everything there in blue. All those in favor of that move signify by saying aye.
Unanimous.
All right.
Are we on now page 12 of 35?
1235, item M.
So do I understand that what this is saying, that if it's a private road that is not in any way going to be turned over for the public, that the county doesn't have a say as to the sign controls,
Correct.
speed limits and stop sign and otherwise?
That is correct.
What's it mean if it's in green? I mean, it's already been approved.
So are you making a motion to remove that all the way down to in writing signage?
So my motion is to remove everything in M that is struck through, all the way up to the beginning of the sentence, road signs on public roads. And then we'll discuss this other.
So, let me make sure I'll second that. I wanted to discuss that. So, in the private road and the private drive section, we now have a clear discussion of what road signage is required. So we don't need to discuss private drives and private roads here.
Correct.
So this is only for public roads.
Correct.
And that's what Mickey has done, is clarify that. When we're striking out the ancillary stuff about private roads and drives, which, like I say, is now described in the appropriate section. Is that correct, Mickey?
That is correct.
Any other questions on this motion? All those in favor of striking that first paragraph in M signify by saying aye.
Unanimous?
All right, going down to road signs, we added in on public roads, and we struck out by the direction of the county engineer or his or her designee, and put in by state code of law.
We don't have a county engineer there. Does staff see any conflict in this diverting, falling back to state law?
I don't see anyone.
That is my motion.
You made a motion, I'll second that. Is there any discussion on paragraph 2 of adding public roads and adding state law? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
1935.
19 of 35.
Okay, so we added in item 9. So that's section 26-6. Item 9, no private road shall be accepted into the county public road system if the designated right-of-way requirements conflict with the setback or lot density zoning standards.
When it says conflicts with the setbacks, no private road should be accepted if the designated right-of-way requirement of public road,
Of a public road.
of a public road, gotcha. So in other words, if it was not already set at a public road width, then you couldn't assume people's property if it then didn't allow that property to meet their setbacks.
Setback requirements, correct.
Okay. That was kind of what we were potentially seeing over in Waterside Crossing when we started talking about this way back when, was they were having private roads with 35 or 40-foot right-of-ways. The county needed 5 more feet, but they weren't then determining that extra 5 feet. Did it now conflict with where the front door was of the house?
Correct, and what this hopefully will do would be up front with any developers. If you plan on turning this road over, make sure that you meet the setback requirements, because if not, you're not gonna be able to turn this road over into a public road standard.
Yes, sir.
Well, just going, based on that comment, first question that came to my mind was, if you already intended to turn this over to the county, you had to build it to public road standards, right?
That's what we're
Is that not-
trying to get people to do, is if they were gonna turn it over, tell us up front and do it up
Right.
front, rather than build it at a private and then try to talk the county into turning it, taking it.
Agree and understand. So my question is that, do we need this comment in there if we're already telling them that they have to meet public road standards?
So this will cover the new roads this will cover the old roads that has been built in these subdivisions that they maybe want to turn over. Hopefully this document will ensure that any new roads built, they will understand up front what the standards are to meet those standards.
Well, the other-
If not, then they fall into this category.
The other thing is you want that in the acceptance of roads into county road system section. That way, if they don't see it in the other place, they dang well see it here.
Well, and this is an acceptance of, so going
Right.
back to that waterside crossing example, there was this big hoopla of the county needs 5 more feet of right-of-way space. But what wasn't being taken into consideration is, does that new setback line meet where they built the house? Or are they too close, or are they inappropriate? And that didn't seem to be part of the discussion. This adds that in as part of the discussion. Did we have a second on yours?
Second.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You have on here also lot density zoning standards. If a subdivision has been built not to the standards that they are now, they can't be required to meet the density standards if they weren't required when they built the subdivision.
Correct, but if they want the county to come in and adopt their roads into the public standard, then they have to meet that requirement.
Or
Well, how can they? If they build a subdivision,
they just can't be adopted?
well,
Yeah, this is telling them.
but if they build all the roads the way they were supposed to, as opposed to the laws, when they built that subdivision, you can't go back and change the rules on them.
So we're saying there's no grandfathering is basically what we're saying.
Well, I don't think there really is a grandfathering because we've reduced the road width now for private roads. So up until that time, with the exception of the older roads. And what this all came from was the idea of the system being played. Was a developer, if they came in and said, hey, I can't meet lot density standards, or I can't meet the zoning standard, so I'm gonna build my subdivision as a private road. And then later on, as time passes and memories fail, it can be petitioned into the county, and the county will accept it. The problem is, we've accepted roads that truly are not.
I understand that part. I'm just saying, if somebody built a subdivision that doesn't meet the density standards, but built the roads to specs, you're hindering them.
If
But they would have turned those over at the time that they built them, or if that developer's done and gone, those homeowners then say, oh, I want to turn it and make it public. They knew when they purchased that it was private. They knew that they're then saying that, okay, if you want to make it public, here are the things you have to follow, the rules you have to be able to meet. These are the standards you have to be able to meet to make it public.
Okay.
Otherwise, it still stays private, like it was.
Right. It's to ensure that the county's not taking on undue.
But we've already figured that out. We've already got the standard, that if the road's not to the standard, period, it does not. It's just that you're throwing in this density thing as an extra thing.
It's to ensure that there's not,
But if they built the road to the standard, what does it matter?
if the road's built to the standard and it's got the 50-foot right-of-way, it doesn't matter. But if they're coming in and they don't have the 50-foot right-of-way, and they're saying, okay, I want to claim this additional property to change this to a public road, and it's going to infringe upon the density standards or the setbacks, then you can't do that. Because now you're working around the system, and really we're not building to the public road standard. We've got a private road standard they're built to, and the county's taking it over.
But now the standard's 32 feet, not 50 feet, so that
Correct.
helps. That helps in reverse.
It helps in reverse. So the problem that you have is, if they have the 25-foot right-of-way from the center line, as of today, they can turn it over as a public road. If they do not have that 25-foot from the center line, they will not be able to turn it over as a public road unless they obtain that 25-foot from the center line, 50-foot total.
Wait a minute, I
without
thought that's, I
infringing
thought that's
upon,
16 now. I thought it was 16 now.
we're talking about public roads.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I got you, yeah.
So if you want to change a private road to a public road, you've got to have that additional right-of-way if it does not already exist. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, dealing with drives. So if you know this is something you're wanting to do, go ahead and put the 50-foot right-of-way in.
Yes.
So you've already got it, and you don't have the argument of, I want to turn this over now and have a conflict of your,
And so I think that's what the county was trying to tell us when we changed everything from, in the drives. I mean, I get it why we did it, but changed everything from 50 to 32 was, hey, you're liable to end up with people saying, I got deceived. I only put in a 32-foot right-of-way to meet my drive requirements, and now I gotta have 50 feet.
right. So it's, you know, we're trying to make sure that we're not taking property that does not need to be taken for the individual person that wants to subdivide, but we're also making it upfront that, hey, if you're wanting this to be a public road, you've got to meet the standards.
Right, and I think that's how the paragraph A of the bill helped
Right.
down the road.
Yep, for new
Make it
stuff,
clear to the developer. That's what we want. We want the developer to be clear on
their
what the
intentions.
county's expectations are. It saves them a lot more money if they're clear, even if it's something they don't like.
Well, and again, this helps the county say, Mr. HOA, y'all bought knowing it was a private community, we're not gonna take it over unless you can meet all this.
Correct, and that's what we don't want them to go, we don't want to accept roads that are not truly public road standards. We should not do that. And that's what we're trying to nail down is if it's not to the public road standard, we're not gonna accept it for a road as a public road standard, and maintain it as a county.
For number 9, we have a motion and a second and discussion. Is there any more discussion on number 9?
Yes, spelling question. No private road shall be accepted in the county public road system with the designated rights of way. Shouldn't it just say right of way? Take out the S.
How has that been written, staff, in past things?
I guess it would,
Road is singular, then right-of-way would be singular.
singular, right. Good catch. So let me amend and remove the S from rights.
All right, with the amended motion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Unanimous?
All right, item 10. This whole thing came about because council was the one that ended up approving the adoption of roads. But Mr. Markovich did make a very good analogy on why the county administrator should be the one here to accept those roads. Because that we've now clearly defined, hopefully, what is the requirements for a public road, for a private road, and for a private drive. Before it was kind of intermingled. So I want to leave it as the county administrator here and remove my edit.
Leave the word administrator in there. And I think that I would agree with Mr. Markovich's point that if the developer has checked boxes 1 through 10, the administrator is simply verifying, did you check boxes 1 through 10? Did all of those things get accomplished? And council is not gonna do anything but turn to the administrator and say, did they do that?
Correct.
So,
I second.
if everybody understand, is there any questions on that? All those in favor
Mr.
of
Reed.
leaving?
Do we need a motion to not change?
Yeah, I don't think.
That was his motion, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. No,
Yeah.
that is my
Give
question.
him,
Is
now,
that
I don't know that we got a
necessary
second.
motion?
Yeah, we got him, Mr. Haney made a motion, if I understand, to not remove the word administrator, to leave it as written.
My motion is to disregard that edit.
I would just say, let's disregard
let's
that. edit.
Disregard the edit.
There you go.
I think there was a second, but if not, I'll second it. Is there any more discussion?
He's saying you don't need
He's
to
saying you don't
vote
need
on it.
anything.
You
Just-
don't need to
just-
vote.
Okay.
Just skip the whole thing.
Okay.
Scroll on up, we'll forget we even had this conversation.
All right, before we move to, page 22, I'd like to talk about page 20. and 21. Does the state have any say or jurisdiction regarding encroachment?
On state roads, yes.
So I would like to actually strike all of echo encroachment. I don't think the county actually needs to be involved with encroachments.
Well, this is talking about county maintained roads.
Oh, okay, so,
Specific to county maintained.
yeah, all right. I still think that,
And we're working on that definition
I think
over
we
in
need to
32.
clean this section up. I think it's too intrusive. Maybe that's something we need to visit later, but, because we haven't had a specific discussion on it, but I think there's a whole lot in here that could be cleaned up, removed.
Well, first of all, we don't have a county engineer.
That's correct, we do not. Violation of the encroachment permit policy is a violation of this code and is punishable by a civil fine of $500 a day per violation. Each and every day of a continuing violation shall be deemed a new and separate offense.
And we don't have a county engineer.
And we don't have a county engineer.
There's an echo.
Yeah,
So,
I wanted to reinforce what you said.
I think the county has entirely too much say and power over encroachments onto county roads, in my opinion. I think there's a reasonable,
Are you making a motion to remove all of Echo 1 or all of Echo, or would you like Mr. Root to tell us why it's in there?
yeah, I'd like for Mr. Root to come back and tell us why it's so onerous. Why section Echo is so onerous, and what we could do to clean up that section and make it much shorter and much less penalizing for the person trying to get access to a county road.
I will second that. So right now, we're not talking about removing it, we're talking about having Mr. Root come and explain why it needs to be there and or
Yes.
can it be reduced? Is there any more discussion on that? All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
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 Good catch. 22 of 35?
Yeah, 22 of 35, section 26-8, variances from road standards. Variance from road standards, and we're striking the whole A, B, C, D, E, and F in its entirety. And the reason why is they should not be any variance from road standards unless you're going to the court for a easement of necessity. And that would not be done in here.
Is that something that needs to be described in this document, that any request for change would go through that, or is that just an automatic understood?
I think that should be automatic understood. It's, these are standards. So, and we've changed the standards now to where they're not all identical. And so technically, if you cannot meet the public road standards, you can fall down to the lesser, the private road standards and the private drive standards. And then if you still can't meet that, then you fall into a private driveway. So there's still a means to get access to your property. It's just that we should not be taking on and creating public roads that are not to the public road standard.
I second the motion to strike this section.
Well, I did find it strange that it would go through a Board of Zoning Appeals when Board of Zoning Appeals is zoning, not road construction.
And replace it with reserved.
Yes, and replace it with reserve. Thank you.
Good catch.
I'll amend my motion.
So 26-8 will be called reserve.
Yes, or just 26, yeah, 26-8. I thought you said A.
Yep, that will be called reserve. It is very strange that you would appeal to the road construction. No, I don't want to build it 4 inches thick, I want to build it 2 inches thick. And then somebody in the Board of Zoning Appeals saying, yeah, that's a good idea. So. Do we have more discussion? Did we get you made a motion, did we get a second?
Yes.
Is there any more discussion on this? All right, all those in favor of that motion of removing that wording as shown, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Oh, psst.
You're not removing it, you're replacing it with reserved.
Sorry,
Yes.
replacing it with the word reserve, signify by saying aye. Let's redo that.
Unanimous.
Aye. That's the end.
Somebody's keeping us straight.
This is adjournment.
Thank you so much for keeping it straight.
Adjourn.
Let's make sure we're there. Was there anything else, Mr. Haney? Was there anything else that anybody saw in reading through this document that was missed that needed to be addressed?
Or Mr. Nick, do we have time to go back and discuss page 20, improvements?
We do.
Is everybody,
I thought we were gonna have Mr. Root explain it to us first.
that's fair, yeah.
Is that okay? Then we have the reason why we're looking at it.
Put lawyer's eyes on it before we arguing over it.
There you go. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for going through this. I think that we have really made tremendous headway over the past several months in really making corrections on this document, these documents. I think we're getting close to, based on what we've got, Mr. Root will come back to us, if I understand correctly, with the last things, and then these changes can be formalized at hopefully a next meeting to be sent to, voted, to reviewed as formalized, and then voted to or not to send to council as we've corrected, so.
I think also we have a few items in 32 we gotta come back to, correct?
That's correct.
So,
Okay, that are not in tonight's information?
that's not in tonight's information.
Okay. We are through our agenda here. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor? So moved.
Second.
Second, yep, second, and moved.
See you in 2 weeks. We'll see you.
Thank you all.